once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of The Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, Quinn. At least that's how I'm known here on the program. Back here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of Underground Music Collective, a quick spin edition here at Helping Our Music Evolve during the content collab we do every month here. You just heard Revel 9's All I Become at the top of the show. That's been our opening theme song here at the Quinn Spinn since the great year of 2014, and it will be until the very end of days. And I have a new friend joining. Hello. Jenna Vivacora, who is a theatrical pop artist, also is in the world of musical theater and joining us here today. So, Jenna, first of all, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, I ask every guest of the show 3 standard questions. Feel free to answer these. Have fun, however you like. Those 3 questions are, who are you? What are your passions? And why on earth would you want to come on the Quinn Spinn?
Well, I want to be on this show because I get to talk to cool people like you.
All right.
Off to a good start.
Yeah.
Got a pander.
Yep. Brownie points. Yeah.
Thank you. So my name's Jenna. I have lived all over the world and been in the Navy and have chronic health issues and have written multiple musicals and I'm mixed. And so I just have a lot of things going on to draw from for my art and always have ideas of the next thing to create. Yeah. So I've written 2 full-length musicals and my artist project, Jenna Vivacora, I have created a full album that is called Sojourner that basically documents my journeys around the world, and that's coming out this fall.
Oh, wow. Very exciting. Well, thank you for joining. I feel like we have a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
So let's start with the travel part. So been all over the world, been in the Navy. So what was that experience like for you, and how does that show up in how you do? Because most people might not associate like a military life with like musical theater, right? So how do those 2 things intertwine for you?
Yeah. So I went to the United States Naval Academy for college, and I always found myself like looking for the nearest piano, you know, between classes or between marching in a parade or doing, rifle drills or whatever we were doing.
Yeah.
And so I was always creating stuff even at that time. And I ended up getting medically disqualified from the Navy and had to reconfigure my whole career.
Yeah.
And the thing that I did when I was down and out was write orchestrations. And I discovered that that wasn't normal for people when they were depressed or ill to write orchestrations. So I decided to dig into that and start taking some classes in orchestrating and musical theater and other sort of staged art forms. And
So how did that help you kind of get over the realization of being medically disqualified? Because obviously, you had this career path in mind, right? And all of a sudden it wasn't available to you anymore. So how did that help you shift gears and also find new perspective? Yeah,
it was very difficult and very painful. But I kind of did a deep dive on trauma studies due to my own experience and experiences of other friends as I was getting medically disqualified. And I wrote a lot of music that actually really directly correlated to like scientific processes of like how our brain responds to trauma, like, the vagus nerve stops working properly, or like certain, like your agency goes away when you've experienced something that's made you so helpless. And so my music was like a processing thing for me for that. And then as I was researching, I discovered there was a whole like scientific foundation for all this stuff I was writing. And it really helped me work through sort of the emotional difficulty of what was going on and give me some new direction. Yeah.
And you mentioned travel too. I'm assuming there's some non-military travel in there as well. So how has that informed your perspective? Getting to see different parts of the world, meet different people, understand what they're going through in their lives.
Yeah. It's given me a big passion for like the transplants, the people who are moving a lot or who like, they're in the U.S. now, but like English is their second language and they've had to come here by choice or not by choice. It's given me a lot of compassion for like, the people that I interact with who can barely communicate in English or whatever it is. And it's also just kind of done a lot of biases, ways that I was thinking about things. I know like there just really is no normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Normal is whatever the culture dictates, wherever you are in the world. And I think like when you do get to travel, when you do get to experience different cultures, maybe you're not from here, maybe you're from somewhere else and you come here and like things are totally different. You know?
Yeah.
I had a guest a few weeks ago from Italy, and you know, she definitely, you know, has had the chance to travel a lot, see these different perspectives, and like really understand like, you know, what connects us all as human beings.
Yeah.
Is there something that you found that, you know, despite all these differences and despite this lack of normal, that is this connecting factor between us?
You know, human connection and friendship. I mean, in any culture that you're in, like the desire for deep friendship is there. And there's so much willingness to push past like your differences. And I feel like in a time where like, you know, cancel culture is normal or we're cutting people out for having different views or beliefs or whatever, sometimes that is really valid and needs to happen. But like living abroad has like definitely taught me to like just invest in those communities, because you can develop support networks and deep relationships despite so many differences.
Yeah. And create understanding between people. You know?
Yeah. Like, why do you think that way?
Right.
Why do I think this way? Yeah.
Right. And like, what is, you know, what's there that might be true? What's there that's not true?
Yeah.
You know? And how can we come together and come to the table on this? And especially with how divided things are, particularly in American media, you know, like we need more of that, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely a refreshing take, you know, and just, you know, to have that understanding that like, hey, you know, we're more alike than we are different, you know, just across the board. And, you know, regardless of our cultures, regardless of our circumstances, we're all human. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If there's one thing that you've learned along your journey, creatively, of course, through life, that, you know, one lesson that maybe you would go back and impart upon your younger self or somebody just kind of embarking on theirs, you know, maybe going through something, what would that be?
Yeah. I think recently, like, I've been thinking about like what message am I trying to communicate with my art? And I think my whole life I've been given like dichotomies, like you need to choose math or music, you need to choose military or the arts, you need to choose love or your career. And I think I say choose both, choose it all, and like you can choose to make it happen. It's uncharted territory in a lot of ways, especially in our society and given history. But I think that's what I would want to hear from like my younger self is like, you want to choose both, you want to choose both things and just do it. Yeah. Like, don't sacrifice one early on. You might have to sacrifice something later, but like. Yeah.
You're the second guest in a row that has alluded to this idea that we don't have to, you know, pick one or the other. Kay Fox, who was just in here, you know, like had mentioned that, you know, she felt for the longest time she had to choose between music and having a life. You know, she had a song about it, him or the music, you know, and it's such a sweet spot to hit when you realize like all of this makes up our life. All of this makes up our composite experience. Yeah. I'm still getting there myself where it's like, okay, like I can actually go like do something that's not just work all the time. You know, I think we all have to come to that place and realize like what we do is a very important part of who we are, right? But it's not the whole thing, you know? And you get to, I just turned 37 in March, and it's like, you know, I just got to a point where I want to fit UMC, the Quinn Spinn, everything into my life instead of continuing to fit life around it. And once you get to that point and actually commit to it, like some pretty cool stuff starts to happen. Yeah. You start to see that well-rounded experience taking shape.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think like my main thing I've been dealing with the last year or two is even less about, I guess, work-life balance and more about the arts and science thing, actually. Yeah. Both, for sure. But the arts and science thing has been one that I'm like, I have a math degree. I have a degree in mathematics, and I believe I could use it in my art. Yeah. And I have, and I found a producer who also like puts data and math in her art. And it's been like such a beautiful journey, and like making orchestrations based on abstract mathematical equations and stuff. And just only recently finding validation from other mathematicians who are like researching math and literature and stuff, and how this all comes together. And like, this isn't new. So why did we separate it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's all connected in the greater universe. So where can we learn more about you online?
Yes. So I do have a website, jennavivacora.com. I also have Instagram, which is Jenna Vivacora, and TikTok, also Jenna Vivacora. So, yeah.
So make sure you follow Jenna and check out everything that she has going on. Follow the journey and follow us here at the Quinn Spinn, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and a bunch more. Also on your socials at Quinn Spinn Official on Instagram and Threads, and the Quinn Spinn on Facebook and TikTok. UMCNashville.com is our central hub for all things independent music, creativity, community, and more. I botched that last time. I used our old domain. It's UMCNashville.com now, which is also what will take you to most of our socials at UMC Nashville, except UMC Worldwide on Facebook, because there was an awkward rebrand, and then when I tried to rebrand back, the United Methodist Church had scooped it up. True story. I didn't realize when I named us Underground Music Collective that the initials UMC were also United Methodist Church until after, and no givesies backsies at that point.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to roll with it.
You do.
Yeah. At Nash Live shows as well, some events coming up here in Nashville. If they haven't already been announced, they will be soon. So keep an eye there on Instagram. And Revel 9's All I Become going to take us out like it brought us in. Grab some muffins on the way out.